Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be taking a deep dive into the Fyreslayers for Warcry. In this video we'll be using the Warcry Sentinels of Order supplement book, and then we'll be looking at the Fyreslayers fighter abilities for the fighters and for the leaders. And then we'll be going through every single fighter card that's published in the book and looking at those alongside all the models that you can purchase on the Games Workshop website. And then we'll also look at those models in different sets and see which ones we can use in Warcry and what warbands we can put together. But before we do that, let's take a look at a little bit of the background and narrative for the Fyreslayers and how they fit into the game of Warcry. From their mountain holds, the warlike zealots of the Fyreslayers march to battle. Each of these Dwarden is a fearsome foe, wielding finely crafted weapons and empowered by the divine energies of their god. Like all Dwarden, the Fyreslayers are a short and stocky race of humanoids found across the mortal realms. They are talented miners and builders, preferring to dwell around volcanoes or other sites of magmic power reminiscent of their ancestral homelands in Akshki. Fyreslayers society is in many ways traditional by nature. Matters of oath-taking, family honour and respect for one's elders are cornerstones of their culture, and, in true Dwarden fashion, they are legendary both for their drinking prowess and their ability to hold a grudge if they believe themselves wronged. Their hunt for Urgold has seen the Fyreslayers fight all across the realms, including in the perilous lands of the Eight Points. On occasion, wandering bands of Fyreslayers will even sell their mercenary services to the warlords of the damned, battling for supremacy amongst the Bloodwind's spoil. Whatever their motives, when their blood runs hot, that is to say almost always, the warrior sons of Grimnir will never back down from a challenge, no matter how terrible it appears. That's just a brief introduction to the Fyreslayers, and you can read loads more about them in the Sentinels of Order book, but now let's move on, take a look at the models and the fighter cards and abilities. All the Fyreslayers are going to be able to use some of these fighter abilities, and that includes the leaders. So I'm going to read through those first so we don't have to do it for each fighter card. So every fighter we look at here in this video is going to be able to use this first fighter ability, which is a double called Fire Steel Throwing Axe. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 6 inches of this fighter and roll 2 dice. For each 4 to 5, allocate 1 damage point to that fighter. For each 6, allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to the value of this ability. So this is a handy little ability, especially when you consider the Fyreslayers haven't got a great movement, and you see that as we go through the fighters. So being able to pick off the enemy a little bit with this double ability is a really great one to have. So this is the first one they can all use, but they can also use this other double called Relentless Zeal. Add 3 to the move characteristic of the next move action made by this fighter, this activation. So again, we're building on that movement now. So with the short movement, they can now add 3 to that move characteristic. So this is a really good ability if you want to cover some ground quickly, steal some objectives, and I think you'll be using this a lot with the Fyreslayers. So again, all the Fyreslayers can use this one, but they've also got a third fighter ability that they can all use, and this is a quad called Unleash Runic Fury. Until the end of this fighter's activation, add the value of this ability to the attacks characteristics of attack actions made by this fighter that have a range characteristic of 3 or less. So this is pretty good, this one. I mean, we can use this for any fighter, so being able to add the value of the ability to their attacks characteristic could be awesome for the big hitters, and some of them already got 3 or 4 attacks. Now we could potentially add another 6 to that, so a great quad that they can all use. But now let's move on to the leader ability, and there's just one ability that all the leaders we'll look at in this video can use. And this ability is a triple called Honour Our Oaths. A fighter can use this ability only if an enemy fighter has been taken down by an attack action made by them this activation. Until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of attack actions that have a range characteristic of 3 or less made by visible friendly fighters while they are within 6 inches of this fighter. With this ability, we're not going to be able to use it early on unless we get a real quick kill, and it's a bit restrictive having that condition where they do have to take an enemy fighter down, and then they can apply the conditions of this ability to the visible friendly fighters within 6 inches of them. So it's a shame there's only one ability that all the leaders can use, and it has got that little restriction on it. But let's find out what the other abilities are for all the leaders and see how that makes up for it. Now let's start looking at all the fighters available, and we'll look at the models and the fighter cards that can go with them. And we'll start with this set and the leaders. And this set is a £60 set, and it's the Magma Droth. But there's 3 different varieties, but they're all the exact same set. So whichever one you buy, you can build either of those varieties with it. But in that set, you're going to get 3 leaders. You're going to get a Rune Smiter, a Rune Son, or a Rune Father. So you've got 3 choices there. So whichever one you put on the model, you're going to get the other 2 that you could have standing up. And because they're all stood up, you could even mix and match. But if you wanted 3 separate leaders, then you could just buy the set for those leaders, put them all on the bases, and then keep that Magma Droth like separate as a separate model, and just pop the whichever leader you wanted on there. Certainly if you're using it for Age of Sigmar or something like that. So that's one option, but as you'll see as we go through the video, there's some better options to go for leaders, which can save you quite a bit of money. So keep watching and you'll find out what that is. But let's take a look at these 3 leaders here and their fighter cards and unique abilities next. First up, we've got the Auric Runemaster, and this is coming in at 165 points. And we've got the Mystic Runemark, the Leader Runemark for the ability we've already seen. It's got a movement of 3, toughness 4, and can take 25 wounds. Got 1 weapon option here with a range of 1, making 3 attacks, strength 4, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. So you're not getting an awful lot here for 165 points. It's nice to get those 25 wounds and strength 4 and toughness 4, but I think it's going to be the ability that's going to make this guy worth it. So let's take a look at that Mystic Runemark ability, which is for a double called Runic Empowerment, and this is a leader ability. And with this ability, you pick a visible friendly fighter within 3 inches of this fighter. Until the end of the battle round, add the value of this ability to the strength characteristic of the next attack action made by that fighter that has a range characteristic of 3 or less. Usually I really like these mystic abilities, but I don't think this is one of the best ones I've seen. But it's certainly good if you wanted to empower one of the friendly fighters to attack like a bigger monster or a bigger fighter or player from the enemy side. I think this could be good to really increase that strength, and they could take on some of the bigger opponents. And it's only a double, so I guess it's worth it. But I think for 165 points, I'm not too sure if I'd be including this miniature in my warband. And then we've got our next leader, the Auric Runemaster, and this is a little bit more, 175 points. And you can see we've got that leader rune mark for the Honour Our Oaths. We've got a rune mark for another ability that we haven't seen yet. Got a movement 3, toughness 4, can take 22 wounds. Got 1 weapon option with a range of 1, 4 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So for that extra 10 points, we can put out a little bit more damage here. So this is better. We've also got that extra attack. So this is pretty good. But this guy's coming in with this new ability, which is a leader ability, a double called Lodge Leader. Until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the strength characteristic of attack actions that have a range characteristic of 3 or less made by visible friendly fighters while they are within 6 inches of this fighter. So this ability double I think is going to be more useful than the previous one we saw for the Auric Runemaster, because with this we can add 1 to the strength, and that's often going to be enough because they are pretty strong, these fighters, and so adding 1 is going to be pretty good enough, I think. And so yeah, this isn't a bad one at all, and I think if I had to choose between the 2 we've seen so far, I'd probably take this one as the leader. Our third leader from this set is the Auric Runefather, and this is the highest value points-wise of any miniature for the Fyreslayers. And this one is coming in at 195 points, and you can see we've got that rune mark for the Honour Our Oaths, and we've got the rune mark for the Lodge Leader ability that we've already seen. And this guy's got a movement of 3, toughness 4, can take 25 wounds. He's got 1 weapon option, but this time it's a range of 2 with that longer axe. He can make 3 attacks, strength 5, dealing 2 to 5 on a crit. So for me, this is my favourite of the 3 leaders so far. And I think of all the leaders that we'll go for in the video, this is probably going to be my favourite one. You know, he's strong, he's pretty tough, and he's got some decent abilities there with that Lodge Leader to add strength to the other fighters around him. And I think that's the way to go with this kind of warband is to really use that strength and try and increase it and make them go at it and really attack the enemy, and then also combining that with those abilities we saw for all the fighters to increase their movement. I think that's a good tactic. So they run at them, they're really tough and strong, and they get stuck into the fight. We're on to another model, and this is the Doomseeker, which is temporarily out of stock at Games Workshop, but you may find it at Element Games. I'll put a link at the end of the video for this. And this is £17.50 for one miniature. For me, I always think these are quite expensive, certainly for Warcry. But if you like the look of this model, then it could be a great option for you. But I'm sure we could proxy this with some other models that we'll see later on for a much better price. But this Doomseeker, if you go for this as your leader, is 180 points, got movement 3, toughness 4, can take 25 wounds. It's only got that one leader ability, which we've seen, the Honour Our Oaths, and for a weapon it's one option, range of 1, 4 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So nothing too exciting here, and I think for me this wouldn't be a good leader. You really need some more abilities, so just having this one ability wouldn't really be enough. Now we're on to the next one, and this is the Grimrath Berserker, another £20 model that's out of stock, but check out Element Games if you like the look of this one. But again, we can proxy this and get much more value for our money. And this Grimrath Berserker is 190 points, still got that movement 3 and toughness 4, and can also take 25 wounds. We've got the Honour Our Oaths leader rune mark and the Flaming Skull quad rune mark. This is going to be a new ability we haven't seen yet, and the weapon option for this one is a range of 1, 3 attacks, strength 5, dealing 2 to 5 on a crit. So here we're pretty tough again, pretty strong, with some good damage output there, very much like the Auric Runemaster, and for 5 points less you're just getting not much more here, except your range is a little bit less. So that weapon range is 1 instead of the Auric Runemaster's 2. But let's have a look at this quad ability, which is called Battle Fury. Until the end of the battle round, add the value of this ability to the move characteristic of this fighter. In addition, this fighter makes a bonus move action, then they can make a bonus attack action. So he's not messing around with this ability. This is pretty crazy. So we could potentially make 3 moves in one turn, one activation, and then have an attack action on top of that. And you're also increasing the amount that you can move. So that's insane. I mean, if you get a 6, if you get 4 6s here, then you can do 3 moves, 8 inches each, and then make an attack move. So that's crazy. Imagine stealing an objective with this would be crazy. You could almost get across the whole battlefield. So this is the only fighter as well that's going to have this ability. So this could be a potential leader or hero that you might want to include in your warband just for that quad ability. Now we're on to another leader option. This is the Battlesmith, and this is a single miniature, £20. Again, quite expensive for one. I think for Warcry we can do a lot better, and we'll go through some options later on for proxying models. But here we go, here's our Battlesmith, and he's 175 points, got movement 3, toughness 4, 25 wounds, again very similar to the others. He's got that leader rune mark for the Honour Our Oaths, and then we've also got this shield rune mark, and he's got a weapon range of 1, 3 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So the damage output's not as high as the Runemaster that we've seen and that other Grimrath Berserker, but still not too bad. And at 170 points, it could be an option. But let's have a look what that other ability is going to be, and then we can make our minds up. And this is a triple called Icon of Grimnir. Until the end of the battle round, add half the value of this ability, rounding up, to the toughness characteristic of visible friendly fighters while they are within 6 inches of this fighter. Okay, so this is someone you want to include in to give some toughness, so we can get that strength bonus from our Runemaster. But now if we included this one as maybe a hero, then we could increase the toughness as well, and that's for all the visible friendly fighters as long as they're within 6 inches of this fighter. So there we go, this is pretty good. If we want to increase the toughness, we've got an option there. And these are all pretty tough. All the fighters in this warband are going to be 4 or higher toughness, so we can really get that even more higher and really increase that. And we've got one other leader, and this is the Auric Runemaster. And again, this is a £20 model that you can buy on its own. And the Auric Runemaster is going to come in at 170 points, got movement 3, toughness 4, can take 25 wounds. We've got the Honour of Oaths rune mark and one other rune mark that we haven't seen yet, so he's going to get a unique ability. And with his weapon, it's a range of 2, making 3 attacks, strength 4, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. So you see there's lots of leaders. We're going to get 11 leader choices altogether and 6 fighter options. So it really is important to pick that leader and a hero if you wanted to, and then just with the other fighters you haven't got that many options. So it really is basing your warband around your leader here. So these abilities are really important. So let's have a look at this one, and this is a double called Volcano's Call. Pick a visible enemy fighter on the battlefield floor within 12 inches of this fighter, and then roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each 4 to 5, allocate 1 damage point to that fighter. For each 6, allocate 3 damage points to that fighter. This is a great ability. So for a double, we pick a visible enemy fighter, as long as they're within 12 inches of the fighter. They've got to be on the floor, so they can't be up on any terrain, I guess, from that. And then so if we get a value of 6, we can roll 6 dice, and for every 4 to 5 it's a damage point, but for every 6 it's going to be 3. So I mean, they're going to do a little bit of damage there. That's not bad at all. And again, this gives us a little range option, so I really like that one. But now let's move on and look at our fighters. So we've seen nearly all of the leader options now, and so we'll have a look at the fighters and the different sets that include a mix of both fighters and leaders. So let's start with this set, and there's 2 different sets, but you get the same miniatures in there. It's the Auric Hearthguard or the Hearthguard Berserkers, and so you've got the option to build 5 of each, or you can mix them up, so you'll be able to do all these poses and have all the different weapons. And you'll see from this set that you get a ton of different fighters and even some leaders in there, so it's certainly a good one to look at. And the first fighter we can build is the Auric Hearthguard, and at 125 points he's going to have a movement 3, toughness 4, can take 12 wounds. We've got all the abilities we went through for the fighter abilities earlier on in the video, but he's also got this rune mark for those flaming swords, so there's going to be an ability we haven't seen yet. And this has got 2 different options for the weapons. One is a ranged weapon, minimum range of 3, maximum 15, 2 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. And then we've also got the close combat weapon, range of 1, 3 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 2 on a crit. So you're not going to do anything really up close with this, but wow, this is pretty good for a ranged weapon, being able to do 2 to 4 there on strength 4. This is really impressive, so I really like this one. But you can also choose to make an Auric Hearthguard Carl, which is like a leader, and they're going to get the same ability as the fighter, but also that leader ability, the Honour of Oaths that we've already seen, and a few more points at 180. Still got a movement 3 and toughness 4, but can take more wounds at 22. But it looks like the weapons are pretty similar there. The first one's going to be the same, and then the second one just gives a little bit extra strength. But let's have a look at the ability that comes with them. And so both of those fighters we've just seen, the leader and the regular fighter, can use this double called Encase in Molten Rock. Until the end of this fighter's activation, the next time this fighter makes an attack action, subtract half the value of this ability, rounding up from the move characteristic of the target fighter to a minimum of 1 until the end of the battle round. So this is interesting. It says the next time this fighter makes an attack action. It doesn't say it has to be successful or any damage has to be taken. So this is really good. So combining this great double ability with that awesome range characteristics of the weapon choice, these are really good, and certainly got to include 1 or 2 Auric Hearthguards. But we can also from this set do some other fighters. So let's have a look at the next one, which is the Hearthguard Berserker with Flame Strike Poleaxe, and this is 110 points. Again, that movement 3 and toughness 4, and they can take 12 wounds. They've got a rune mark that we haven't seen yet, so we're going to get a different ability. And with the weapon here, it's a range of 2, 3 attacks, strength 3, dealing 2 to 5 on a crit. So this isn't bad at all. Not very strong, but if it does hit, we can certainly do some good damage there. And combining this with the leader abilities we've seen to improve strength, these could be pretty tough. We include those in our warband. We've also got another fighter we can choose, the Hearthguard Berserker with Berserker Broadaxe. And this one's a little bit more at 115 points. Movement 3, toughness 4, 12 wounds again. We've got that same rune mark for an ability, and all these fighters that we'll go through here in this little section will have this rune mark, so we'll cover their ability at the end of this section. And this guy has got a weapon range of 2, 3 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So a bit stronger and a bit less damage output though. Then we can take the Hearthguard Berserker with Berserker Broadaxe, and they can be a leader. And these leaders are called Carl. I don't know why, but they're called Carl, and a bit more, 185 points, same movement and toughness, but can take 22 wounds. And as well as that rune mark for the ability we haven't seen yet, he's got the leader ability, the Honour Our Oaths. And again, decent output here. We've got range of 2, 4 attack, strength 4, 2 to 5 on a crit. And then we've got another option again, is making the Hearthguard Berserker with Flamestrike Poleaxe into a leader now. And again, the Carl is the name they give the leaders. And so at 185 points, we've got that same 3 movement, 4 toughness, but can take 22 wounds. Same abilities as the previous leader. And with this weapon choice, it's a range of 2, 4 attacks now, strength 3, doing 3 to 5 on a crit. So pretty good at damage output there. But let's have a look at this ability, and this is a triple called Duty Unto Death. A fighter can use this ability only if they have 5 or more damage points allocated to them. This fighter makes a bonus move action, then they can make a bonus attack action. Alright, this is pretty good for a triple, not bad at all, and they only have to take 5 wounds to be able to do this. I probably wouldn't be using these 2 leader options in this, so it's just taking the regular fighters, but being able to use this triple ability for them is pretty good. Bonus move and a bonus attack action is not bad at all for a triple, so I'm really liking that. So these are really good. This £27.50 set of 5 fighters is going to give you some great options. You can take in some range weapons who are pretty powerful, and then also take in some of these other ones who can use this great ability. So really impressed with these. Now we're on to a next set, which is a £35 set of 10 fighters, and these are called Volkite Berserkers. And these are going to give us some options for fighters again here. So let's look at the first one. We're going to get our Berserker with pair of Fire Steel Hand Axes, and this is quite low points wise. This is probably the lowest value fighter in the whole warband. This is 85 points, movement 3, toughness 4 again, they're all tough, and he can take 12 wounds. Got a weapon range 1, 4 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 3 on a crit. So pretty average for this point, but having that toughness is good. 12 wounds is great, but 4 attacks is always nice too. So that's our first one. Then we can also make a Berserker Carl, so we've got a leader version, and this is 170 points, and again 3 movement, 4 toughness, 22 wounds. Got that leader ability, the Honour Our Oaths, and then for the weapon it's a range of 1, 4 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. And for me, this isn't a viable option. I wouldn't use this. With all those leader and hero options, I don't think we need to. Now we've got another option though. We've got a Berserker with Fire Steel Warpick and Bladed Sling Shield. And at 90 points, we've still got that movement 3, but because of the shield, we get an extra toughness. So a toughness of 5, taking 12 wounds. We've got the Bulwark Rune mark, so we're going to get an ability we haven't seen yet. And this is a weapon range of 1, 2 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. So not very strong at 3, but that toughness 5 is always useful. You know, you've got these kind of tanks who can absorb some damage, and that's really great. And making 2 attacks, you know, we can increase that strength anyway with our leader, so that's not bad at all. But we can also have a version here of a Berserker with a Fire Steel Hand Axe and Bladed Sling Shield, and at 85 points you're still getting that movement 3. He also gets the toughness 5 and can take 12 wounds, and he's also got that Bulwark rune mark there, so he's going to get the ability we'll look at in a second. And with this one, it's a range of 1, 2 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 3 on a crit. So you've got a couple of options here, and you know, you still get the ability though, so I think that's what these guys are really going to be worth using for. So let's have a look at that now. And this is a triple called Sling Shield Charge. Until the end of this fighter's activation, the next time this fighter finishes a move action within 1 inch of an enemy fighter, pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter and roll a dice. On a 2+, allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to the value of this ability. Okay, so this isn't bad. There's a few conditions there though. It's not like going to be an instant damage. You do have to get 2+. So there's a very good chance you're not going to get, you know, you're not going to deal that much damage. But you know, as long as you get those 2+, you can certainly do some damage. So this isn't bad. And I like these shield shard kind of ability, so this is really great. And that toughness 5 is really useful, and if you can improve their strength as well, these could be a good option really. Including 1 or 2 of these in your warband wouldn't be a bad idea. Okay, now we're on to another set, and these are Fyreslayers, the Chosen Axes, and these are £15 and you get 4 miniatures. And these are the miniatures that you would have got in the Underworld expansion, and if you've picked that up then you'll have all the cards and all that comes with it. But these you can just buy the miniatures, and for £15 I think they're great value. You get 4 unique miniatures with some great poses, and I think for Warcry all these like Warhammer Underworld sets are perfect. The figures just fit in so well, and you could just buy 2 of these and make a great warband. But this one set, if you pick it up, is a great starting point, because you can use the guy you can see at the very front, at the bottom right. You could use that as an Auric Runefather, and so that's going to give you the best, in my opinion, leader for the warband, and at 195 points, it's great. And then next to him, you could choose to use him as a Auric Runeson, or pick one of the double axes as an Auric Runeson, and this could be a good option to use as a hero. So this is really great. You've got 2 straight away, 2 strong leaders there. But then you can use the other 2 as Berserker with a pair of Firesteel hand axes, and you could use a Berserker, Hearthguard Berserker with Berserker Broadaxe. So this is going to give you 2 nice options as well. And you can see points wise, you've got quite a lot of points there. I mean, here's 200, and before that we saw another almost 400. So you're getting close to 600 points there just from having this one set. So for a 1,000 point warband, you wouldn't need many more fighters on top of this. So they're definitely my favourite, and there's got to be an option. But now let's look at the start collecting set for the Fyreslayers, and this set comes in at £60, and you're going to get some great value money wise. This is always going to be a good choice. You're going to get the 2 sets worth £95 for 60, and then at Element Games you can save up to 20% on top of that. And included in this box set, you're going to get quite a few options. You know, you can build those Berserkers and all the fighter types that we've just gone through. You're also going to get that Rune Smiter, the Rune Son, and you're going to get the Rune Father. So you're going to have a choice of 3 leaders, but you'd only ever be able to use 1 leader and 1 other leader as a hero. So you're not going to be able to use all of them in your warband at the same time, unless of course you proxy them for something else. But here you can see you're going to get this Magmadroth option. That's going to be included, and so if you wanted to build that, you know, that's always a nice centerpiece to have, so that would be good. And then you've got the 3 leader options here, but is it going to be, I think it might be a bit expensive, even because you're not going to use all the miniatures for Warcry, and I don't think it's going to give you the best options even having these guys, this set of Berserkers. I don't think they're the best ones that you could use in Warcry. I think there's definitely some better options. But if you do like the look of it, here's all the different fighters that you can use. You're going to get 3 leaders, and then you're going to get 3 fighters, and also that Berserker Carl, who's another leader. So essentially you get 4 leaders. But I would say forget the Berserker Carl. I can't imagine that one being used very much when you can choose the others as a leader or a hero. So from the starter set, these are all the options that you're going to be able to use. Then there's a couple of other things you could buy. This Battleforge, which obviously looks well cool and would be great on the battlefield. And then there's this one, the spells, the endless spells. I mean, they look great, but I can't imagine them fitting in with Warcry. So let's have a look at what I think would be a good option to put together a warband with. And these are the Fyreslayers and that set of Auric Hearthguards. So these would come in at £42.50, and on the Auric Hearthguard you're going to save 20% with Element Games, or up to 20% with them. So, you know, it's going to come in to hopefully under £40. You're going to get 9 miniatures and a good selection of some of the best fighters and the best fighter cards. And to put together 1,000 points from those would be really easy. You could use the Auric Runefather as your leader, and then maybe an Auric Runeson as a hero, but I'd also be looking at the Auric Runemaster, who's coming in at 170 points. That would be a good option too, because he can make use of that Volcano's Call double leader ability, which is really awesome. But then from that set, the other set of miniatures, and from the also the set of Fyreslayers that would have come with Underworld, you're going to get some other options for these other fighters here too. And I was thinking it might be cool to have 2 Berserkers and maybe 2 Hearthguard Berserkers with the Broadaxe, or 2 with the Poleaxe. So you've got a choice of mixing and matching with that. and then that Auric Hearthguard, you could have one, and then you've got like a range option, or you might want to have two Auric Hearthguards, but then that's going to reduce the ability to have these two berserkers in the middle. You'd have to go for the lower point one on the left hand side. So you've got lots of options to mix and match, and also from the sets you're going to get those leaders who are the Carl leaders, but again I don't think that they're worth including in your warband. So I think for me it's having that Rune Father, and then having the Rune Son or the Runemaster as a hero, and then just picking and choosing from those other 4 fighters. So although there's not a huge amount of choice here with the Fyreslayers, and most of those are leaders that you would pick anyway, I think they'd be a fun warband to play. They seem pretty tough and strong, and I think they'd be really great with the extra movement abilities you could put in. I think they'd be quite fun to play, and I'd be interested in expanding on my Underworld set and picking up a few of these extra fighters. But I'd love to know what you think. What warband would you put together? Do you pay the Fyreslayers already? So I'd love to hear how they perform on the battlefield. So join in the comments below. It would be great to hear from you. And if you like any of the models that we've gone through here, they're all available on the Games Workshop website, but I'll put links to Element Games in the description below, where you can save up to 20% on everything that we've gone through as well. And so great value there, and although it's an affiliate link, it doesn't cost you anything extra. In fact, you save that money, and for every sale made through a link, I get a small commission, and that helps me do loads of videos like this, and that's really great because you're supporting the channel, and I really appreciate it, so thanks so much for that. If you like this kind of content and would like to support the channel, then please check out my Patreon page, and thanks to everyone who's joined so far. It's really awesome. We hang out on Discord, talk about the hobby, share ideas and help each other out, and you'll get some perks there that you're not going to find anywhere else. So I'll put a link in the description, and it'll be great to see you there. I can certainly say I like the Fyreslayers a lot more now I've done this deep dive video, and I hope you enjoyed watching it and learning a bit about them, and hopefully it'll give you a good idea as to whether this is something that you'd like to build a warband around. But thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games.